Okay. All praise, glory, and honor is most certainly due to the Most High, the God of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Peace to you in the name of his son, Jesus. I count it truly a blessing each and every single time that I can come before to preach the word of God. And never do that is a light thing to do so. All right, brothers and sisters, I want to get right into today's topic. And the topic is and continue with the theme of the love of God and love is a misunderstood thing. It's a misunderstood concept. People think it's an emotion or some kind of feeling you get in your in your stomach, but love is action. And how you love is dependent upon the relationship to the person that you love. For example, your love of a parent means that you are obedient, just like it is for the love of God. Love of somebody on your same level is treating them like you want to be treated. It's really that simple. Peace to you, brother Will. It's good to see you there, brother. So what I want to do is I want to deal with it. Peace to everybody, brother Joseph, sister Miriam, and sister Miss J. Good to see y'all. Let's pick it up in Matthew, the gospel according to Matthew chapter 22 and verse 34. Because here, he in his answer to the Pharisees, he really makes it plain as far as love goes. This is Matthew 22 and verse 34. It says, "But when the Pharisees had heard that he had put the Sadducees to silence, they were gathered together. Then one of them, which was a lawyer, of the law, right? Torah, he said, asked him a question, tempting him and saying, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? Verse 37 said, Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. Okay, so putting God first, loving him first. You read in Ecclesiastes 12, it said, let us at the conclusion of the whole matter, fear God and keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. For he shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. When that fear, that reverence of God is connected to love. Because if you love God, you are going to fear him. It's like you show honor to a parent as a child, excuse me. So it says, and the second is like unto it. So the second greatest command, he said, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. He said, on these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. So let's deal with this first one in just a real simple way. Peace to you, brother Nicodemus. Peace to you in Israel. Peace to you, Tavion. So this is John, the 14th chapter. Hope you're doing well out there and where you at. Good to see you there, brother. John 14, and let's pick it up at verse 15. Peace to you, brother Makai. Good to see you as well. Real quick, or real easily, he makes it plain. He said, if you love me, keep my commandments. So if you love God, you're going to be obedient unto him. You can't say you love God and then you don't do anything he says. That's not how it works. Okay. Matter of fact, let's go to 1 John, the 5th chapter. He says in verse 1, whosoever believeth that Jesus is the Christ is born of God, and everyone that loveth him that begat loveth him also that is begotten of him. So you're going to love others. But then he says something, by this we know that we love the children of God, when we love God and do what? It says, and keep his commandments. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous or burdensome. See, keeping the Sabbath is not burdensome. It's for our benefit, right? Not eating pork or swine is not burdensome. It's for our benefit, right? So this is insight that we get from an omniscient mind. We get insight into how he thinks through Torah, through his law, statutes, commandments, ordinances, judgments. So when we love God, when we love the Most High, we do it through our obedience to what he has commanded. Again, if you love me, keep my commandments. Let's go to the gospel according to Matthew. Peace to MC Israel. Matthew, the 7th chapter, and see something here. And verse 12, one verse. It says, therefore, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them. For this is the law and the prophets. People refer to this as the golden rule, right? So what you want to do is you want to treat people how you would want to be treated. That's love. See, again, love is not an emotion. Love is not an emotion. Love is action. When you really look at love and break it down, love is an abstract noun, meaning it's abstract. We cannot touch love, we cannot smell love, we cannot taste love, but rather we see the evidence of love. It is action, it is an exhibition. Okay, so it's an abstract noun. It is an action, and it has a power dynamic. In other words, you love the other person or the other individual based on your relationship to that person or individual. For example, a mother loves her child through taking care of the child. A husband loves his wife and taking care of his wife and providing her needs. A wife loves her husband through submission to her husband. We love our father through submission unto him. This is how love operates. We love our brother or our sister, individual, by treating them how we would want to be treated. Let's go to Romans. See, that's what love is. Love is not just some spooky thing. It's not a feeling you get in your stomach. That's not love. Romans the 13th chapter. Let's pick it up at verse 9 or verse 8. Here he tells us Paul the apostle tells us how we're supposed to love our neighbor. He says, "Owe no man anything but to love one another. For he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law." Again, that's the fulfillment of the law. Love is a fulfillment of the law, he'll tell you. But he said, "For this, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet. And if there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." See, that's how you love another person. See, when you lie on them, when you steal from them, when you murder them, that's not love. That's hatred. Furthermore, same thing with God. When you disregard his commandments, that's not loving God. That's hatred of God. That's being an enemy unto him. Peace to you, MC Israel, Sister Rowe, and Mr. Born Again. Peace to you. So he said, love worketh no ill to his neighbor, therefore love is the fulfilling of the law. Let's go to one more place. Let's go to Exodus, the 20th chapter. And when we look here, we know it's the 10 Commandments here. When we look here, we'll see what love is. Exodus, the 20th chapter. Exodus, the 20th chapter. And let's pick it up at verse 1. It says, "And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage." See, he manifested himself unto these people. And he showed that he was indeed the true and living God by what he did. He brought the most powerful nation on earth at that time to his knees. He says in verse 3, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." So now, understand, when we even look at the 10 Commandments, we see love, but we see love of God and we see love of man. Let's keep looking. So when we love God, what won't we do? "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." He goes on to say, "Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that do what? That love me and keep my commandments." See, when you love him, you'll keep his commandments. He says, "Thou shalt not take the name of thy Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy man servant, nor thy maid servant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates." He tells you why. "For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it." He took you all the way back to the beginning. But what is this telling us? This is the love of God. See, that's why they said on these two hang all the law of the prophets. If you love God with all your heart, your soul, and your mind, you're going to do those things that he commanded you to do and not do those things that he commanded you not to do. That's how you love God. And how do you love your neighbor? You love your neighbor by treating them as you would want to be treated. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. And when you really understand, when you're looking at yourself, you're seeing what? In reality, you're seeing the potential to become God. When you look at your brother, you're looking at what? The potential to become God. He that was made in the image and the likeness of God. That's why I said, how can you say you love God and hate who you are not seeing and love your, or how could you say you love God whom you not see and hate your brother whom you see every day? Because your brother really, and we as a people have a serious problem with that. And part of that is because of what's happened to us in America. When we look at our brothers, when we look at us, we see hatred because the view of us that came from other people who have dominated us, we have internalized that hatred of ourselves and of other people. That's partially why we kill each other at astronomical rates, because we hate each other. But when you really understand in general, when you're looking at another individual, you're looking at a child of God. Now, whether they're acting that out and acting properly is another thing. But you're looking at one who was made in the image and the likeness of God. He made them male and female. So when we really understand furthermore, how he, like I talked about yesterday, how he loved us. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life. When we really understand what he did, and if Jesus is our example, we should love our fellow man. We should love our neighbor. We should forgive. This is what we should do. So now we dealt in the 10 commandments. We see those commandments dealing with how we're supposed to love our God. Now we see how we can love our neighbor. Again, the greatest commandment, love God with all our heart, with all our soul, and with all our mind. And the second commandment, greatest commandment, is love thy neighbor as thyself. He says, in verse 13, thou shalt not, actually verse 12, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. And again, that's love, because that honor you love. When you're showing proper honor to a parent, like I said, there's a power dynamic to love. As a child, there's a power dynamic to love. You show your love through obedience and honor. So he said, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, which is interpreted as thou shalt not murder. So if you love your fellow man, you won't kill him. It says, thou shalt not commit adultery. So let's go back a little bit. Thou shalt not kill. When you go look at places like Chicago, we're in the Midwest here, about 15 minutes from Chicago. When you look at Chicago, you see a lack of love, particularly, again, for our people. Why? You see it's evidence through the killing. Go to where we're at in these urban areas, it's evidence that there's a lack of love because of all the murder. It says, thou shalt not commit adultery. Again, going into your neighbor's wife. That is not love. You wouldn't want somebody to do that to you. You want somebody to kill you. You wouldn't want somebody to sleep with your wife. That's not love. It says, thou shalt not steal. You work hard for what you have. You won't want somebody to take it from you. Probably everybody on there, I know certainly, me growing up, we got broken into, our house got broken into many times. I can remember coming home as a child and everything in your room gone. That's happened on several occasions. You know how that feels. You feel violated, had a car broken into, had all kinds of things stolen from you. Know how that feels. Stolen identity. You know the hassle that is. He said, thou shalt not steal. You won't want somebody to do that to you, so don't do it to somebody else. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. You know, many of us know what it feels like to be lied on. And the horrible feeling, especially when you're lied on and everybody believes the lie. For whatever reason, because they wanted to believe it, because the lie is quote unquote juicier to believe than the truth. So everybody knows that feeling and the pain and anguish and hurt that brings about. You don't want to do that to somebody else. Because understand that those things are born out of, I talked about in the previous lesson, is born out of the carnality. Actually, it was a question and answer. It is born out of the carnality of us, our carnal nature. See, our carnal nature doesn't have anything to do with love. It has something to do with lust. You understand? So bloodlust, you will murder. Sexual lust, you will commit adultery. You want to have the finer things in life. You may steal. You are jealous of an individual. You might lie. That is born out of the carnal nature, the fleshly nature of man. That's not love, but to be spiritually minded is love. See, to have your mind based upon him, that's love. So it says, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. He says, thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. One thing about it today, we in a generation of haters. Man, haters and trolls. That's all you see. People hating on another individual. Can't stand that they have something that they probably or more than likely worked extremely hard for. The more you get, the more people have a problem with you. Who does she think she is? Who does he think he is? It ain't not that that person did something to you. Oh, they think they somebody. Why? Because they worked hard and got something. They worked hard like you can work hard and get it, but you don't want to put the work in, but you will dish out that haterade. You will do that. You will covet what they had, and that's a problem because when you again, we have to control our mindset, because when you think you want something and that somebody else has, you keep dwelling on that thought and you keep coveting it. After if it comes up, you cover the man's wife, you end up, the opportunity arises, you'll lie with the man's wife, or they leave out the room and next thing you know, their Rolex is gone. Things like that. Or you get so jealous and so envious that you even kill them or lie on them or do something that is detrimental to them. That is all hatred. And we are commanded as believers, we are to be operating in love toward one another. And if you ever want to, sometimes it's very easy to get self-absorbed and to not really think about other people. But when you realize that it could have been you, in whatever situation they in, or you realize how you felt when somebody hurt you, operate in that. Try to put yourself in another person's position when you're operating out here. Look and be thankful for what you have and understand that it is through the love of God that you breathe and that you even have an opportunity at salvation. So with that, brothers and sisters, it is always my prayer that you will edify.